welcome back to Ridgehaven Homestead, off-grid living and so much more. I'm Lori and today I'm in my kitchen. You've heard the little poem, something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. Well, we know that that usually applies to a wedding and things that the bride likes to wear and include in her ensemble. I think that's going to apply also for my kitchen. Something old, something new. I don't know if I have anything borrowed, and I'm certain to find something blue, but let's take a look inside. What we're going to focus on today is what is vintage, what did I thrift, and what things did I add to kind of go with that theme that kind of seem vintage even though they may be new. So I hope that this will be a fun little video for everyone. Let's just jump right on in. Welcome to my off-grid vintage kitchen. And let's just jump right on in. The first thing that is vintage in this video, not me, don't say me. Okay, I might be creeping on up there. But I have this apron. Let me show you better. I have this apron that is indeed vintage. This was an apron that most likely was made by my grandmother. Now, if she made it or not, I don't know, but she certainly owned it. And it is one of my treasured possessions that I received from her collection. So it's really kind of cool. It's funny how black and white checkered has always been kind of known in the country kitchen. So this is possibly from the 1950s, and it has hand cross-stitched and then hand-sewn rickrack on it. I love the detail. There's several kinds of rickrack and several kinds of, well, two different kinds of rickrack, and then the cross-stitching to make it look really cute. And imagine that this is used to protect your things from cooking, but it's so beautiful in and of itself. I just love the things that they used to have that were for beauty and function at the same time. So I haven't been wearing this for a while. It's been packed and in storage, and so I'm glad to take that out and wear it today in my vintage kitchen. We're told in the Bible to beware of covetousness because our life does not consist of the things that we possess. And so when I share with you the video about what is in my vintage and thrifted kitchen, it's not because I'm so proud and wanting to show you all the things so that you will be covetous or anything like that. It's just because I want to share with you because we have been on a real journey in our family. We've lived in our camper for 5.5 years, and I will be honest with you, as a woman, that has done something to me, and it's been a challenge for me. And so me having a kitchen now to beautify and to get settled into, it's an answer to prayer for me. It's really encouraging me to see things going into place and feeling like I know where things are, feeling like I have the space and the capacity to cook for my family. And that is the reason why I am so happy to share with you the details about my vintage kitchen. And so if it comes across like I'm just bragging and saying, look what we have and look what we have, just keep in mind that it's been a long journey, and sometimes it's the little things that bring us joy. And for me, I can say that 100%. The little things that I can put around that can add to the beauty of our home, it just brings me a lot of joy, because we were so long in a camper where there was no beauty and no I mean, everything was utilitarian. So it worked and we made it, but at some point along the journey, it became really hard for me to not have a kitchen that I could sort of spread out in and do the cooking like I enjoy doing. And so I'm sharing with you as a homesteader and as a woman on the homestead, we go through seasons and we don't always understand what another person is going through. So be kind when you consider if someone is sharing something that's bringing them happiness and joy. Don't automatically assume that they must be very, very shallow and that all they want to talk about is things. And I have to obviously guard against that, and I have to make sure that I don't make my life about the things that I have. But at the same time, I think it is a blessing to enjoy making a home homey. And so for that reason, I invite you into my off-grid and vintage kitchen. Come on in. Let's just do a walk through the kitchen, and in no particular order, let's find out the things that we have collected. I think it might be easier to actually begin in the dining room because there's just less things. So here is the dining room. It is very small. We have just enough space for our little table. We can expand this table and it makes it into an oval, and it will hold 6 chairs at least. So that's great. Adam refinished it recently because we've had this for many years, and right now we're just using it with the 4 chairs. But one thing around the table that you may notice is this bird cage type chandelier. Now, I didn't put this candle crooked. It just happens to be crooked because the little holder is bent, and so pretty soon I'm gonna have my boys bend it back with something strong, and then the candle will be straight. These are actually not real candles, but they are waxed coated candles, and I got these from Amazon. I'll just do a little disclaimer there. They are realistic flickering candles, but they take batteries so that I don't have to keep using up the candles for this, because this is a non-electric chandelier and it's just hanging here in our kitchen for the ambiance. I did put the ivy on it because I like greenery, and we can change it seasonally, like Christmas things, with the holly and the ivy, or some mistletoe if I think about it. And I just love this. In fact, it's one of those random things that I drove way too far to pick this up at an antique store. Yeah, I drove probably 2 hours to pick it up. I don't know why, I just did. It just happens to be what I did. But this is antique, and it's never been wired for lights or anything. So it will only be for candlelight dinners. Ambiance, folks, ambiance. You can see above me, I have what are those called? Edison bulbs, because we wanted more light in here than we just got with our little fixture on the wall, which isn't even on right now, which happens to be like a little lantern chandelier, not a chandelier, a lantern fixture. And so that it provides a little bit of light, but not as much as we need. Let's see if we can turn that on. Ta-da! Yeah, it gives a nice warm glow. Okay, what is next on our, well, let's go under the fixture and look at this painting. This painting is done on slate, and I did look up the artist at one time. It is signed, and I just can't remember the name of him, but I loved the rustic print. Goes perfectly in our kitchen, in our dining room rather. And I picked this up at a thrift store in our local town. Some people may say that I cheated. I don't know, maybe you'll hate me, but that's just part of it. I went to drop things off at our local thrift store, and while I was dropping them off, there was a lady who was donating this, and I said, oh, that's beautiful. And she said, hey, do you want it? And I said, sure, I love it. And then the person came out from the thrift store and said, you're not allowed to take it from her. And I'm like, well, she's the one who brought it and she's giving it to me. They're like, no, she was gonna donate it. You have to go buy it. And I'm like, I don't know, the lady gave it to me, so if I did wrong, then I did wrong. But it's technically thrifted or gifted to me. So that's how I acquired that painting, and I really do love it. I love it on slate. I have another picture that I still haven't brought here from the camper on slate that has a message for our family, and I do like that. Okay, so you already saw last week, you saw the, hello, you saw the mason jar wall, and this is just another look at it from the top down, and you can see that it does go down the steps, and it is pretty big. And we also got this, what you can see behind me, you can see my little head, the front and the back, because Adam and I went out of town last week to pick up this big mirror. This mirror is 74 by 44 inches by like 74, so not quite 7 feet and not quite 4 feet, but it's pretty big, and it perfectly fits our space back here. Yeah, there it is in all its glory, right over another one of those light fixtures to match. Can you see me? Can you see me? Can you see me? Yes, I can see myself. It doesn't look that big in the picture, but it is a giant mirror. It completely, almost completely covers our wall, and it makes it feel like the space is so much bigger because it reflects the light, and I just love it. So I did get that off Marketplace, and it's not anything old or anything. It's actually a newer mirror, but it looks good with our rustic theme. I told you about the clock last week, and there's the clock with its wobbly little hands, but it's doing well. It's still keeping time, which I'm very grateful about. And I picked that up at a thrift store, although it is not vintage. As we travel from the clock and go above our pantry door, I believe I showed you this last week and I just didn't say anything about it. I like to collect these little signs that are inspirational, and yes, I did indeed pick this up at a thrift store, and it almost matches the color of my cabinets, which I really like. Up above our mason jar storage and to the right of the pantry, we just have our mugs hanging there that we drink out of. 3 for the boys and the drinking jars for Greg and myself. I went with the Pioneer Woman. I love the green. I got the Pioneer Woman one for Greg. I just took the pretty little top off because he wasn't too thrilled with a pretty striped straw and flowery lid. These mugs that I picked up for the boys are all themed on ships, and they're vintage. I don't know what era they are. So these are just simple. They're like, I don't know, probably 16 ounces. And they each have a different ship on them from at some point when ship collecting was something to do. And it gives a little bit of history on the back of that. Like this says brig, and it says the brig was considered a pirate's vessel, but was built basically for trade in South America and coffee. And then there's more information, and they each have a little bit of history on them. And so I don't know, I could have gotten the boys Pioneer woman, but I like the ships. It's more masculine. It's just what I did. Okay, next in the dining room we have our Lazy Susan and stuff that we keep on the table, including our napkin holder. So the napkin holder, when I got it, was beat up, and it's just made of wood, but it was finished with this dark brown stain. And initially I had spray painted this like a dark beige color, which I liked just fine. But when I started putting things in my kitchen, I decided I really wanted it to match my toaster. I know, so I sanded it down and spray painted it. And I knew it was kind of a bold choice because it's so red, and I thought I might regret it, but I don't. And so I just keep it here with napkins. And then I have our little Pioneer Woman jadeite salt and pepper shakers. They both have salt because I don't eat pepper. But this is, I just love these. I've always, ever since they brought this line out of the jadeite, I really liked it. I wish I had collected more, but I didn't. So, but I hope these don't break because they're heavy duty and I just like them. Okay, so the Lazy Susan was the typical white with gray non-stick Lazy Susan, and it's not expensive or anything. I did find this in a thrift store for $5 or something, and I liked how big it was. It's 18 inches. And so I just didn't want necessarily white on the table. No particular reason. I just wanted it to blend in a little bit better. So I spray painted it brown. I probably did, I don't know, 3 or 4 coats. And I like it fine. It didn't, there are certain parts of it that didn't take it up as well, which is no big deal because we're gonna keep it on the table with things on it. And at the moment I've had this wood grain charger. It's made of plastic, but this is, I don't know, it might be from the Hobby Lobby or something. And I picked it up at a thrift store. And so it just works for that. We can keep the salt and the oils and flavorings on the table and give it a spin. And so maybe someday I'll find one that is wooden because I intended to get a wooden one for the table. And if I do that, then I'll just move this one into a cabinet if it fits. No big deal. I really like Lazy Susans. I've discovered this about myself. It just makes it a lot of fun. The next thing we have in this area is the baker's rack, and there's only a few things on there. The vase was a wedding gift. The flowers were from the Dollar General. The sign my mom and dad gave us many years ago, faith without faith, nothing is possible. With it, nothing is impossible. I really love the color. The iron looks really good with the baker's rack, and you probably can't even see that. It's not high enough. But that will be hung above the baker's rack when we get to that point. We have an insulator. We have a vintage block bank that was Greg's when he was a baby, which looks like a baby block, and it might have $1 in it. I don't know. Okay, so it will hold books. This little tiered tray I did find at the Carm store last week, and I thought it was really pretty. This is not vintage, but to me it looks vintage, and it has this like a scroll design with lattice, and I really like the iron theme, but I will tell you, it can still be bought new because I looked it up and I found it on Amazon. So yeah, it just looks old, but it's not. Okay, this, oh, hello, about to break it. This is my Pioneer Woman pie plate that Adam got me for Christmas one year. I really love gingham. You're gonna find that theme in this kitchen. I love all colors of gingham. I don't really feel like I have to decide in the flowers. So it's really pretty. One day I'll bake a pie in it, but so far I've used it, but not for pie. I've used other things in it. Okay, and eventually I will be filling up that baker's rack completely. Let's turn around here and see what else we have in the kitchen. Before I move into the main part of the kitchen, let's just look at this wall behind me. Okay, on this post, I decided to display some of my cast iron. And so we have the corn pone maker, and this indeed is vintage. And I got this from a man who had a shop along the side of the road. And it's no brand, it's not Lodge or anything, it's no brand. And it works really well for making cornbread. Hangs better this way. Okay, and from the same man, I got this other no brand, I don't know what this is called. It's not muffins, but almost like mini cakes, which makes really pretty flowers. And they don't stick. So that is that I got. And then this is an old Griswold skillet, 8 inches. And one time, I hadn't had it for too long, I was cooking with it, and all of a sudden I heard a bing, just high pitched like that. And a crack appeared, and I was devastated because this is an antique Griswold skillet. Oh well. So this is made in the USA. I should have gotten rid of it, I know, but I just wanted to remember it. I thought it looked nice. And I have a little message that says, don't mess with the cook. Because even though I didn't crack it over anybody's head, it's a good reminder that the cook shall be respected. Okay, next we have the kitchen itself. As we move into the kitchen, I'll just show you the things that we have kind of in a circular motion. So the first thing that we see visually is this pot rack, which is not vintage or antique or anything. We got that off of Amazon and I really, really like it. I was not planning to do a pot rack over the stove, but Andrew came home and he's like, Mom, this is what I noticed somebody else doing and it looks really cool. And I was like, I thought about it and I looked at some and I was like, you know what, I really like that idea. Because as I told you in our mason jar wall video, we are kind of people who are visual. And so if it's out there, we remember to use it. And if it's hidden away in a cabinet, sometimes I forget. So I like the pots all being on display. It's just great. And yeah, and there's actually a shelf up top that we can put things on. And then this one actually has lights as well, so they shine down on my stove. I didn't do a range hood, and possibly I should have, but we didn't seem to have the ability to do that in here, so we just went with this, and we'll turn the fan on if we need to. Here we have a place to hang the aprons, more aprons, and this is one that my mom made and one that I got in a gift exchange probably 20 years ago. That makes it almost vintage, doesn't it, in these terms? So this is a trivet that just has some of the colors of our kitchen, and the heart marble designs I thought was pretty. Picked it up at a thrift store, as with almost everything. Okay, so it doesn't want to hang straight now, it's gonna bug me. The basket here is a fruit basket that I got so that we could keep the bananas and things off the countertop. It works really great for that. And 1, 2, 3 levels. Usually I have bananas, oranges, and maybe some apples, but right now we have tomatoes, bananas, and bananas because somebody around here likes bananas a lot. Okay, not vintage, not anything, just happens to be a very large sweet potato that is sprouting. This was a gift from one of Greg's customers that I never quite had the heart to cut at the time that we needed it, and now it's sprouting. Oh well. Okay, trivets. I found some cast iron trivets last week at the Carm store. I think it was the Carm store, could have been another store. I don't remember, one of the thrift stores. They're heavy duty, they're bright red, which I really like, and yeah, not vintage. This is my Vitamix, not vintage. This is a Pioneer Woman braided mat. Stove is vintage, obviously. This is from 1949 or 1950. It is an antique Wedgwood stove that is functioning now. Is it fully functioning to its full capacity? No, it's not. All the burners are working. I'm cooking out of this oven. I still need to make some adjustments because it does tend to burn things, and I know that the pilot is too tall. I just have to get in there and adjust that. And then this other side of the oven I haven't even bothered with yet. Someday, it's on the someday list. Okay. On my stove, you will notice a few things. And I do have the stove shelf folded down. I find that it's a lot easier to cook with when it's folded down, but the metal shelf does fold up, and then there's a little timer under there, and it's very artsy, cutesy from the 1950s, but I'd like to keep it down for now. It just is easier. On my stove, this pot is not vintage, and neither is the matching teapot, but I love them so much. They were at Aldi a couple years ago, and I got it, and I love this color. Sometimes I say my favorite color is purple, and I do love purple in like different applications. I don't love to wear purple, but I love the color purple. But in my kitchen, this is my favorite color. I just love this mint green. There is a reason I have this pot wrapped in a towel, because I am making yogurt right now, and so it's just doing its thing, wrapped all up. Sometimes I make it in the oven with the pilot on, and I'm contemplating whether I get a instant pot, because it's been recommended to me that I get an instant pot to make yogurt, but I don't know. So far I haven't needed it, and I make yogurt and it works out. So if you think I need an instant pot, let me know. There's a really pretty one that I like that matches all my stuff, but I haven't decided to get that because I just, yeah, haven't needed to at this point. Okay, as I step back a little, hello, you can see this small butcher block island. This is an interesting piece that is, I don't know if it's vintage or not. This piece is a butcher block island. It is an actual butcher block top. It's very heavy and very thick. This part does remove, and there's a little storage place under there. You'd have to really want it because it's pretty heavy. But I got this off of Marketplace, and I will tell you that this piece is going to change. I haven't 100% decided what it's gonna look like when I'm done with it, but it will be changing. I like the butcher block part of it, and that's the main thing that I like. For some reason, I don't know, the legs are creepy to me. They sort of look like crab legs or something. I don't know, there's something about it that I don't love the legs. And the person that I bought it from had just put a fresh coat of black gloss paint on it, which I would not have chosen, but I've left it for here for now. It goes with our refrigerator fine, but this will most likely be getting painted the same color as my cabinets. And then I think what I want to do is have Adam cut those creepy legs off and just put 4x4s for, you know, like of walnut or pine or anything, and just you put some rustic legs on, and then it will be more solid and sturdy and look a little bit more country. I don't know, you can let me know if you like it. I like the towel on it. It has one on the other side, but first, I don't know, I told you the legs look creepy. Okay, moving right along. Behind that, if you've been watching for a while, you know that I have a vintage sink, which I bought at the same time as my vintage stove. You also get a pretty good idea of how big my kitchen is not. It's not very big. It's like, I think it's technically 13 inches. 13 inches? That's a Barbie doll one. 13 feet, I think, from one wall to the divider. But it's just a small space. I don't have a lot of cabinets. What you see is what you get. That is the extent of my cabinets, plus the one over here, which is 3 drawers. So it's not big. And if you see the corner cabinet, we do have a door for that, but so far that hasn't been a priority, putting that door on. It's funny the things we ignore, isn't it? Okay, so the vintage sink is working great. I really like to have that double drain board, and I just really like the sink. It is white porcelain, and so I do have to clean it a significantly more than I used to have to clean like a stainless sink, but it does keep it clean and looking good. And so, yeah, I do love the sink. Here's a different view of that pot rack. The pots are not vintage, but they're probably 25 years old. They're Farberware Millennium. They're not quite 25, they're 24, because I did get them before we got married, and it was around the year 2000 because of the millennium, you know, millennium. Okay, so over here we have my little corner. This is kind of my corner of action. I can stand here at the stove and have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6 burners on if I want. And then I can stand here and do everything, make the lunches, work from the sink to the stove. And it's funny that this is not a terribly huge area, but it was so much bigger than living in the camper that I've kept my world small. I kind of like having things close by, which is no big deal. Yeah, so this is my corner. If anybody comes into my corner while I'm cooking, I'm kind of like, see yourself out, because that's where I cook. Over here, is it vintage or is it not? Olive oil. Hopefully that's not vintage. What I have here is another Lazy Susan, very similar to that one. This one actually came from Walmart. It was one of the plastic white ones that had the non-stick as well, but I don't think it's the same brand. So because I wanted it to match my toaster, I did spray paint this one. I think it's called, it's not Fire Engine Red. Maybe it is. It's something kind of bright. I think it is. It might be Fire Engine Red, or it might be Apple Red. One of the two. So I spray painted that, and I do like it. We have a different Pioneer Woman braided mat that it's setting on. And this utensil container, I have no idea if it's vintage or not. I think not. It is written in French, and then on the back side it's written in English. And at first I was like, wow, they misspelled this. Nobody spells utensils like this. Actually, on both sides it's in French. Then I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh, French. Okay, French. But I like it. It's really sturdy and holds all my day-to-day cooking spoons and stuff. And then this was just a broken grater. The handle had broken off, and it works great for storing my wooden spoons. And okay, here's that Lazy Susan, getting a little dusty now. And yeah, I don't know the brand, it might be the same. But I really, really like having my things on a Lazy Susan in the kitchen, because it's so much nice. You can just turn it around and see what you need. Yeah. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you these things because it takes me a long time to figure out where things are going to work, and I have to try 5 different times before I kind of settle in on, okay, this is working, this is a system that I can do, and this seems to be efficient, because I'm not the most efficient person and I'm not a great organizer. So like I said, I really have to try things many ways before I settle on what seems to work for my brain and all that. So this does work, and I am happy about that. I just love having the Lazy Susan right there. Okay, so what else do we have? Is it vintage or is it not? Campbell's Soup makes everything better. Super recipes. And this indeed is vintage. And if I'm vintage, I guess it's vintage, because my mom got this when I was growing up. It's probably, I don't know, 12, 13 years old, and I inherited this from her, and it has recipes in it. And that's funny, I still have some of the original recipes that came with this little tin, and over the years you can see that this thing has faded. This is the original color, and this is now more of a tomato soup color. But I like my tin. I like it a lot, and I don't need a bigger recipe box than this. I do have a binder that has more recipes in it, but nowadays we almost always find recipes. If we need it in a pinch, we find them on the internet, and so the old classics that I look at are in this box. Okay, I already did a video about our Frigidaire vintage retro toaster, and I do really like how it looks. It's really fun, and we use it a lot. We went so long without a toaster because we were in the camper and there just wasn't space, that having a toaster for us is like fancy, and that's life for us. And I showed you that on a different video. I did a review on it, so you can check that out if you'd like to. In here, okay, so the cabinets are vintage. These cabinets are 2 years older than I am, and I'm not telling you how old that is, but let me just tell you, it's getting on up there. So they were a brown natural wood color, like a yellowy, naughty. They were, I don't know if they were naughty pine or not. They were definitely pine. and I wanted it lighter in here because we had a lot of wood. So I painted them this color of sage green. It's actually called Coastal Plain from Sherwin-Williams, and I still love it. I haven't regretted it. People have said, oh, you won't like that for too long. You'll wish that you had left it wood. Maybe I will someday, but maybe I won't, and I really like it now. And so, yeah, I do love it. I painted them, and then I distressed the edges. I filled in the lines. It's like a beadboard with the brown, dark brown distressing stuff. And so, yeah, I really like it. We put our own crown molding on the top to make it seem more finished because they didn't have them when we got them. And I think that really helped. Up here we have my Pioneer Woman crock pot, which happens to be the gingham and flowers. And then I have a basket that has cookie cutters in it and hydrangeas. I showed you this little shelf last week. These are teapots that my mom has given me over the years. And then this is antique, this little cream pitcher. This was given to me when I was, I think, 16 years old by a sweet lady in town when I went to talk to her about some things, and I think it's really pretty. I think it's very pretty. Okay, we have a salt and pepper shaker that my mom got me, and this is another little vintage. This is actually made for toothpicks, but a lot of times I will just put little tiny flowers in, and it's really cute for that. And I never remember to buy toothpicks. Okay, so last week I went to an antique mall, and it was so fun to go through there and see the different booths and how people had them arranged, and how people, yeah, everyone has a style. And I'm not really an antiquer, if that's a word, but I've come to appreciate going in to those stores occasionally, very occasionally, like very sporadically. It had probably been 4 years since I went into it before, if that tells you anything. But I find it to be really peaceful. I don't know, there's all different eras, all different time frames, and so you never know what you're gonna find. And so it was just a lot of fun. And oddly enough, I didn't buy any antiques. I bought these cute little bowls, and they're not antiques at all. These are Pioneer Woman, but I just love the designs, and yeah, they just seemed so cute to me, and they had the green that matched my kitchen, so I did get those. They're the little dipping bowls. And so, you know, if you just want a wee little bit of ice cream, these are awfully cute to put that in, or you can do the dipping like oil and then dip your bread in there. And I don't know, I like the small things, and they're awfully cute. So, and they match really well with the teapot that I have. So these are all, like this one has the flowers, like that. This one has more of a lattice design, and it's just kind of some abstract flowers. And then I have one that's red with sunshines on it. And then this one is the same as the first one, and then this one's the same as the blue one, only it's purple. So I know it's very random. I'm such a random kind of person. I just like these, and yeah, they're just kind of fun. So I'm gonna let them stay out, and maybe I'll put them in my cabinet one day. I can't forget to tell you about this little gadget that my dad gave me many years ago for my birthday. It is a washer and dryer. Pretty sure it's redneck style. The fixture in our kitchen is thrifted, and I picked that up at a Habitat for Humanity house. That's where this came from, and it matches the one that's in our bathroom. And I know that it looks probably 90s era. That's okay. We really like the scroll design. We like the iron, and it really works in our cabin. The curtain was way too big, was too long for our kitchen, so I just folded it in half and hemmed it up, and that is working really well. This is something that was from my grandparents on my dad's side. I believe they gave this to my brother when he got married, and then I inherited it when we got married. And it's give us this day our daily bread. They have different versions of these that you can find. I've found them many times in thrift stores, but they're not, like the ones that they're making now are very lightweight. This one I believe is solid pewter, and it is made in the USA from Wilton. I've seen some that are now made in China, and they're less than half as heavy as this. And so this, when I see this, I do think of my grandparents in North Dakota, and I remember that. This is a little basket for holding flowers and whatnots, and so whenever I get some whatnots, I'm gonna put it in here. I did tell you in a different video about the plate rack, but I really like the plate rack. We painted the outside of it. I left the inside natural. The dishes inside are vintage, and the plate rack itself is also vintage. It had been in a thrift store for many years being used for plates on display, and it's good and solid, and it's a really nice addition to our kitchen. We have the daisy, Poppy Trail Daisy antique plates. These are from the 70s, and they have embossed daisies on them. And yeah, this is actually now our everyday plates, whatever you want to call that, service or whatever. So that's what that is. And I do have these other like scalloped ones that are also vintage. I just got those off the marketplace a while back, where some lady died and the son was selling her estate, and so I got those. And they came with a bunch of tea set, and I like that quite a bit. In this corner, oh, I forgot to tell you about some of the things in the corners. So let me show you the Pioneer Woman stuff. This is just an example of things that look kind of old, but really aren't. And I don't love everything made by the Pioneer Woman. Some things are just a little too flowery, too decorated for me, and so I have very specific tastes. That said, when I saw this set from the Pioneer Woman at Walmart, I really, really liked them. They are vintage looking with the scallops and the pretty colors. They have the gingham. This one happens to have a gray background with gingham, and then it has all the flowers. And yeah, everybody, it's like to each his own on decorating things, but I like the gingham and the floral. So I got this, and this is the first piece that I got in the collection. It's the utensil holder, and it doesn't say utensils, so this could actually very easily be used as a planter. And this has it has a wooden divider that comes in it, and the wooden divider is removable, but since it was shifting around so much, I went ahead and just used hot glue to seal it down. If I decide I want it off there, I'll take it off there. But it works really well. I keep my straws, can opener, short spatulas and stuff, and then tall spatulas and stuff. So yeah, this was the most handy and pretty thing, and I really liked it. And so then I started looking at the canisters. I did not intend to get the canisters. Spoiler alert, I did. I bought them one at a time so that I would feel like I was spacing it out and not just going and getting them all at once. But they were so beautiful to me. The first one I got was the potato keeper, and it holds at least 5 pounds of potatoes. It's pretty big. And it has red gingham, it says potatoes, and it has the pretty flowers on it. If I decide I don't want to have the potato thing on it, I'll just turn it around. And then it's gingham and, you know, flowers. So I liked the cute little crystal lid. And it's not a commercial. I do have potatoes in there. And I try to keep them on some kind of thing on the countertop so it doesn't scratch it all up. Okay, so the second one that I got was the onion keeper. And this one really matches pretty well my colors. In here, it's a little bit more, I guess it's a little bit more blue than my cabinets, but that's okay. So this is for onions, and it holds a big bag of onions, as you can see, and it keeps it in there. But these, the potato one and the onion one and the garlic one, they have these little holes so that they can breathe and they don't go rotten in there, hopefully. And they have a little, they don't have a seal on them. I don't guess they need a seal. But they have the cute little sparkly thing on top, and I don't know. I think it's because I've been so long with no actual kitchen, except for the camper, that now that I can put pretty things in my kitchen, I just really like the pretty things. And so all these things have to be like put in, you have to keep them in balance or it's too much. But these I really like. I like the gingham, and yeah. I love this corner because it's pretty. And let me tell you something, for your mental health, it is nice to have things that are in their place that you like to look at, and you don't have to go spend a fortune on things. You don't at all. That's why I do a lot of thrifting, but it's nice to have something that you enjoy. It just does your mind so many good favors. So this is the onion, this is the garlic keeper. Garlic. And it has a pretty script on it. This one's yellow, very bright and cheerful. And so far I just have one little thing of garlic inside. And ooh, it's very garlicky. So that's the one that I got last week to complete the set. And so between those things plus this, the colors are all different, but it looks really pretty all together. And they have a Pioneer Woman cookie jar, and it has blue gingham, and it does have flowers, but I found that the flowers were different, and it does not have the acrylic knob on the top, but it does have a seal on the top. And I have gone back and forth. Should I get that or should I not? And so far I haven't. And I don't know why. I almost got it last week when I got the garlic container, but I don't know. It wasn't the exact match, and I'm contemplating on that one a little while longer. And in the meantime, because I did want to get a cookie jar, I went specifically to get a cookie jar, I have rustled up this one that I got several years back, which is like this octagon mason jar. I guess it's a mason jar. It's a canning type jar with the seal on it. And this is an antique. I read on the internet that this was made in Italy, and I forgot the name of it, what it's called. But so far there's just peppermints in it, but I do want to be the kind of person who bakes cookies and puts them in the cookie jar. As you can see, this jar is not going to hold that many cookies. So my plan is I'm going to make some, store them in the freezer, and put a few out at a time. Not that my guys won't go find them in the freezer, but I kind of had this hesitancy. Here's how I am. I told you we are out of sight, out of mind type people. And so maybe that's part of my hesitancy to get that ceramic cookie jar from Pioneer Woman, because I was like, I wonder if we would forget that the cookies were in there. My boys have assured me that they would not forget the cookies, and I believe them. They would probably scrounge around until they found them. But in the event that they did, I didn't want cookies in there going bad. So I thought something that you could see into would be good, and so I was looking for big clear cookie jars. And then I remembered I had this pretty little jar. It's like a honeycomb design, and this is truly vintage. I don't know what era it's from, but I do like it. It's kind of a tinted green glass, and so the cookies shall not be hidden in this kitchen. I have my mortar and pestle, which is not vintage, and I keep this on the island. Speaking of vintage, these copper shoes truly are vintage. These were the bronzed shoes from my husband that he recently got when he was at his house. And so I think these are such a treasure. I think it's kind of a cool thing to bronze baby shoes. I know that it fell out of style, but what a neat reminder of when you were just a wee little person and that your parents cared enough to have this memento made. I think the last area of our vintage kitchen is this corner shelf, and here are the curtains. I did cafe curtains over here, and then they do close if I want them to close on the cafe rod. But I got the little folding shelf, and first I had it in our bathroom, and I finally just decided yesterday that, you know what, it's not working in the bathroom. So I did decide to put it here, and now it's holding Dutch ovens and bowls and a cute little succulent. This succulent is one that I rescued from outside. I thought it was one of the hens and chicks, but it's something else. I forgot the name of it, but I'm trying to nurse it back to health. And so it's going in this little, this is actually a gravy boat that goes with my dishes. But since it's so rare that we're going to be eating gravy out of it, that I decided to just keep it and put it to good use with a plant in it for now. And if at some point we want to do gravy in it, it's sitting right there. So that is pretty much the stuff in our kitchen. Some vintage, some old, some new. I didn't find anything borrowed, but I did find something blue. When we see where we are now and where we've been and what the Lord has brought us through, we can truly be thankful for the journey that He's brought us on. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey. I hope that you subscribe. Our journey is not done. It's just one step in a long succession of many steps. We still have much work to do on our cabin. We have much work to do on ourselves. And I should say the Lord has much work to do on us. So I'm glad that you guys have come to peek into our world. Thanks for coming. Please subscribe.